What's shaking, guys? MagicActivatr here, coach of the Memphis Drizzlies, bringing you guys our Week 3 team builder for the IBL. And this week, I am very excited because we are up against my very good friend ChizuBlue, coach of the Torrance Victinis. And he and I are very good friends that go way back. In fact, all the way back to pretty much the start of this channel. He was one of the first people I met back when we were doing the Red Randomized Nuzlocke, which was the first series on the channel. And we've pretty much been tight ever since then. And so I'm very excited. I think this is going to be a fun battle, if for no other reason than because he and I both make really crazy plays that sometimes make absolutely no sense just for the heck of it. So this could potentially be one of the wildest battles that we have all season. But if you're excited for this battle, be sure to hit that like button down below. Give it your magic touch because your support is greatly appreciated. And we're going to go over his team really quickly and then talk about what I'm bringing for this week's battle. Okay, so over here for the Torrance Victinis, they are rocking out with Salamence, which is obviously a huge threat right out of the gate, Sylveon, Fortress, Toxicroak, Hitmonlee, which he actually named Sweet Kicks, which is a throwback to the original LP that I did. We had a Hitmonlee named Sweet Kicks, which is like the greatest Hitmonlee of all time. And then he's also rocking Flareon, Mega Swampert, Magnezone, Celebi, Metagross, which I believe he just got this week from a transaction. This is the first week he gets to use it. And then Dusclops. So pretty interesting team with Salamence and Flareon actually being as Z users. So like I said, interesting team. I think this team was mostly a kind of a result of him being sniped a whole bunch. There were a lot of Pokemon. I think he got sniped like nearly every turn, to be honest. Like there were a lot of Pokemon he got sniped on, and this is what resulted. Which I really like this team, honestly. There's a lot of Pokemon on it that I personally really enjoy. We'll see how well he can pull them together in our battle, I guess. But a couple of important things to note about his team is that he's got Mega Swampert, but no Drizzle user. So if he wants to run Swift Swim, he'll have to run Rain Dance on one of his Mons. And then the other big thing about this team is that none of his Pokemon break base 100 speed. He's got ways to get past that base 100 mark, but that involves Scarfs, setting up with like Dragon Dance, or like Unburden with Hitmonlee, something like that. Which could be problematic, but it's good for us because that does mean that I can kind of play a little bit safer with some of my faster Mons that I'm going to be bringing and do some fun stuff, I think. So let's go ahead and jump over to my team and talk about what I'm bringing. So obviously, as I mentioned, that Salamence right out of the gate is a very big threat that is kind of scary to have to deal with. So I've brought several answers on this team, kind of a few backup plans of how I want to deal with that thing, because it is definitely one of the most potent offensive Pokemon on his team. So first off, we are bringing Artemis, our Mega Gardevoir. And this week, I'm kind of straightforward. As you can see with the spread, I went Timid Nature, 252 speed and 252 attack, and then dropped 4 in defense. And we're really just running a straight up speedy offensive Mega Gardevoir this week. Rocking out with Pixelate, which is obviously the only ability that it gets, but it is there to make those Hyper Voices hit super hard. And Hyper Voice actually just does a lot of damage to his team overall. I ended up not running Psychic Stab because everything that Psychic hit, which is Toxicroak and Hitmonlee, Hyper Voice pretty much hits just as hard. Like it's pretty much gonna hit everything just as hard. I mean, Toxicroak, it's obviously neutral as opposed to Psychic being 4 times, but even still, Hyper Voice is still looking to be a one-hit KO unless he runs it like defensively or something like that. But Hyper Voice really just click that most of the time on anything, and it's a pretty safe bet. Energy Ball is there for the Mega Swampert. It's really the only thing it covers, but I felt like it was important to have that just so that we have an efficient way of taking out Mega Swampert. He could go a more defensive variant of Mega Swampert since he doesn't have the Swift Swim or the Rain on his team. But Energy Ball is going to hit like a truck no matter what. And then we've got Hidden Power, which is actually Hidden Power Ground on Gardevoir. And that is there for the coverage on things like it hits Magnezone for 4 times. It also hits the Flareon. It hits Toxicroak as well if it tries to switch in on that move. And mainly it's there because it provides the most coverage I felt out of any other move or hidden power type that I could run for effectively hitting the things that I can't hit very well with Hyper Voice, which would be the Metagross and the Magnezone. I considered running Shadow Ball for Metagross, but even still, Hidden Power is looking, depending on the spread, it's looking to do around, it's close to 50%. So situationally, I mean, most of the time, Gardevoir doesn't want to stay in on Metagross anyway, because Bullet Punch is a thing that is really, really scary. But if it is at a low enough point, and if we're at full health or something like that, I would be willing to fire off HP Ground on that. Or if it doesn't have Bullet Punch, we can pretty safely fire that off. And then the last slot, we've got Icy Wind. Now, Icy Wind is there mainly because with us running max speed, really the reason that I'm running max speed is because, like I said, the fastest things on his mon are Salamence and Celebi. So we can actually speed tie with both of those things if they're running speed beneficial natures, which is good because Gardevoir, I think overall has the advantage over both Celebi and Salamence, which is going to potentially scare them out. So there's a really good chance that I would lead with Gardevoir just straight up in this match up, honestly. I mean, there's some things that it doesn't want to match up against as a lead, but I can easily switch that out. And with us running Trace as our ability, if he leads Salamence, we immediately put it in check because we'll Trace his Intimidate, which is going to cut his attack. We speed tie with it, so he can't really risk. I don't even think with the Intimidate drop that he could take us out with an Iron Tail. Maybe a Corkscrew Crash, but it would be a really risky play for him to stay in. And then we can fire off an Icy Wind, which is going to cripple the speed of whatever comes in next, which could be really helpful, especially if it's the Celebi, because then again, we're back at a position where we take control and we're in power. So that's the main reason Icy Wind is there. If I didn't bring it, I really didn't have another coverage move. I might have just ran Shadow Ball or maybe like Wish, but I just really wanted to go just straight up offensive with Gardevoir this week. So we'll see how that works out. Next up, we've got what I would like to call our Plan B check for the Salamence. And this would pretty much be if he doesn't lead Salamence or if he switches out, we don't take it out early game. Waddles is kind of our long-term check for it, and he is there making his debut this week, by the way. Really, like I said, just to check that Salamence and to scare it off. So he's rocking Stealth Rock. This is a really standard set for Piloswine. A Violite, Thick Fat, just to make us as bulky as we possibly can. 252 in HP, Adamant with 252 attack to do as much damage, and then 4 in defense. And we're rocking Stealth Rock, which would really be nice to get up in this match. His team isn't super hurt by rocks, but Flareon doesn't really appreciate it, and Salamence definitely doesn't appreciate it because after Stealth Rock's damage, that Salamence is going to be in range pretty much for a guaranteed Ice Shard to take it out. Ice Shard still looks like it's going to take it out anyway, but if he decides to run it a little bit bulkier, it gives us a little bit more playroom to know that Ice Shard will, in fact, pick it off. And, of course, with it being priority, we don't have to worry about it outspeeding. It's also good because it does outspeed Celebi. Celebi can check us back with its grass typing, but if it's at a low enough point of HP, Ice Shard should do the job. And then we've got Toxic there in the last slot, which will come into effect a little bit with the strategy I'm going to employ on one of the other Pokemon, but that's just there to hit things that we otherwise might not be able to. He does have, I think, what, 3 or 4 Mons? Metagross, Magnezone, Toxicroak, and I guess that's it. That's really immune to Toxic, but Toxic can hit everything else on his team pretty much. Celebi can switch out or whatever, and he does have Heal Bell, but it's mainly there, like, if I don't have any other move to make, I can at least try and fire off and get a toxic off on something, which, knowing my luck, I'll probably miss it, but it's only a 90 accuracy move. How could I possibly land it, right? But that is there. Like I said, 2 wear down Pokemon, and it will play a part into the strategy with one of our other Pokemon. Moving on to the next mon, we've got Starlight Iron Incineroar coming once again with the Assault Vest Intimidate set, classic set. I really like Intimidate Assault Vest combo. Haven't been able to use it as effectively as I'd hoped the past couple of weeks, but that's okay. I think maybe this time around things will work out for us. We're running a slightly different variation of what we have been running, though. If you look at our investments here, kind of a weird spread. We got Adam and Nature 252 attack maxed out. HP, I'm only running 228, which does give us an odd HP number, which is really important, especially on mons weak to rocks, because you want to be able to switch them in on rocks as many times as possible. And then I've got 20 in speed. That 20 in speed is there for a specific reason. One, it allows us to guarantee speed ties with all of the base 60s on his team if they're not speed invested, obviously. Like Sylveon, we can outspeed that, which is good. And then Magnezone, and I think, is that the only 2? Yeah, those are the only 2 base 60s that we speed tie with. So if he doesn't speed invest in those, like if he wants to run an analytics set on Magnezone, and Sylveon usually doesn't take speed investment anyway, but if he does, we do outspeed those, and there's just a little bit extra for a very specific reason, and that's because if you look at our set, our first move and our fire stab of choice in this match is going to be Flame Charge. I decided to go Flame Charge over any other move because I really just don't like using Flare Blitz. I'll be honest. Flare Blitz scares me a whole lot, taking extra chip damage when I don't have really a reliable form of recovery on this mon. But I decided not to go Fire Punch and to go Flame Charge instead, because Flame Charge still does a decent amount of damage to the Pokemon. It is base 60, I'm pretty sure. No, it's base 50. But even still, it's doing a decent amount of damage to the mons that it needs to do fire type damage to. And again, like, 2 of the main mons that are weak to fire on his team are Celebi and Metagross, which are also weak to Dark Stab. So we're also rocking Knockoff for that reason. But Flame Charge is there, like I said, to turn this bulky offensive mon into a fast and bulky offensive mon, because anytime we bring this thing in on something that it threatens, we can Flame Charge and potentially outspeed whatever comes in next. And that's the big thing here, is because with Flame Charge and the speed investment we have, with 1 Flame Charge, we should outspeed even we'll be able to outspeed Magnezone. We'll be able to outspeed Flareon. We'll be able to outspeed Swampert. I believe Metagross as well. I mean, maybe not if they're speed invested, but being able to pick up the pace to get faster than those mons can be really nice. And of course, the more of those Flame Charges that we fire off, the faster we get, and the more speed control that we have in the game. Knockoff over Darkest Lariat this week. This is the first time I've ran Knockoff, but I think it's going to be more useful than Darkest Lariat this time around, because I'm not really worried as much about him setting up. I mean, maybe like Iron Defense on Metagross could be nasty, but Knockoff is going to do a solid amount of damage to those mons, cripple them by getting rid of their item, and offers the utility of knocking items off other mons on switches and stuff like that. And then once we knock off, then Flame Charge can kind of do the work, or one of our other coverage moves, depending on what mon comes in. Flame Charge does just over 50% to Fortress as well, so we can Flame Charge on Fortress, break Sturdy, Flame Charge again, and if he switches, we get a second Flame Charge up. We're outspeed and that kind of thing, which is really nice. Earthquake is there to hit for the coverage on the things that we can't really hit with Knockoff and Flame Charge, so we can hit Toxicroak pretty hard with that. A little bit scary if with him having fighting type moves, but I think with Intimidate or with the Assault Vest, some of these things that are going to hit us, we're going to be able to eat fairly well. and then be able to fire back with like Earthquake. Ironhead is there specifically for the Sylveon. I mean, that's really the only thing that is there for. And like I said, I put that extra little bit in speed so that maybe we can guarantee to outspeed Sylveon and get those headbutt flinches, even if we can't get a flame charge speed boost up. I actually did consider like not running Assault Vest on Incineroar this time and just making him more of like an offensive Pokemon, making him faster and stuff like that. But looking at the rest of looking at his team is mainly composed of physical attackers. He's got a few special attackers, but none of them. But Celebi is checked pretty well by Incineroar if he has Assault Vest, and then really the other special attackers are like Sylveon, which isn't, it's more of a defensive mon anyway, and then potentially I could see maybe Fortress. I've seen him run special Fortress before, but Starla really doesn't care about that. So, and I think it'll be pretty easy to play around if he does. So, I like the Assault Vest on Starla this week, especially. Moving on to the next mon, though, we've got Reckless our Crobat. This is pretty similar to what we've ran in the past, but with some small tweaks. I'm running Jolly Nature with 204 speed investment. This allows me to outspeed everything on his team naturally, as well as a Choice Scarfed Magnezone, which is good because that means we don't have to worry about, like, we can U-turn out and stuff without having to worry about taking a Volt Switch or something like that. And then it also allows us to outspeed Flareon with the Scarf if he goes Scarfed Flareon for some reason. So that's really good. Drop 252 in attack and then 52 in HP just to maximize a little bit of bulk there. And then moveset wise, I changed it up just a little bit this week. It's kind of interesting. We got U-turn and Brave Bird, which are kind of staples on the physical set. And then even though I'm running Jolly Nature, I went ahead and put Heat Wave on it because I was really fearing the situation. Reckless is great for checking his fighting types and Celebi, but the big issue is that Metagross pretty much walls this thing. And so I decided, with 70 base special attack is decent. Heat Wave hits pretty hard. Let's go ahead and throw Heat Wave on there. And Heat Wave's looking to do, on most of the sets I was running, anywhere from 30 to like 40%. We do have Expert Belt on there that is there to allow us to maximize the amount of damage we get with these moves when they are super effective. And like I said, really it's just there mainly. I mean, it can also hit Magnezone, but I was really scared of those situations where Metagross and Magnezone just kind of come in and wall us, both of our stabs. So Heat Wave is there for the coverage, and I really didn't know what other move to run except for maybe, I considered like maybe Taunt or something, but I think Heat Wave is the best option. And then Roost is there to keep us healthy for as long as we can to stay in that match and make sure we have a reliable check to some of those Pokemon. Next up, we've got another Pokemon making its debut. We've got Spook.exe, our Rotom. And I'm very excited to bring this Pokemon, and I think he's going to have a solid matchup this week because with base 91 speed, he outspeeds everything except for the Salamence and the Celebi on this team, which means he has room to do a good bit of work. We got a Timid Nature going in with 228 speed, outspeeds everything on his team. Like I said, outside of that, Salamence and Celebi. I think the fastest thing besides that is Hitmonlee, which we will be able to pretty easily outspeed. Not that it really matters though, because he could be running Sucker Punch or something like that, so we do have to be a little bit weary of that. But it does make us immune to the fighting type moves. So if he's running like High Jump Kick, and we can switch Rotom in, he's gonna miss. He's gonna take 50% damage, which is great. But really, what I'm hoping from that is that it's just gonna keep him from like wanting to click High Jump Kick if he does rock out with it. So that could be very helpful. On the set here, we were rocking out with Volt Switch for initiative, force things out, and then Volt Switch on them, that kind of thing. We've got Hex, which is our Ghost Stab of choice. A little bit weaker than Shadow Ball, but with the added benefit of if we can status Mons on his team, that we can do 120 base power ghost type damage on him, which is really, really nice. He doesn't have any normal types on his team, so I mean, nothing is really gonna appreciate a ghost type move, and he's got 3 mods on his team weak to ghost, so I think that'll be really, really helpful. And Will-O-Wisp is there to provide that that statusing effect. It also, like I said, he's got a lot of physical attackers on his team, so being able to cripple them with Will-O-Wisp is good anyway. But then whenever you have Hex in the back to do even more damage to him, it's going to be very helpful. I think this thing will be a pretty good help in dealing with that Metagross as well. That thing really has me shook since he picked it up, because it's a real problem. He's got both of the Hoenn pseudos on his team. That's insane. But Will-O-Wisp is there, and the good thing about it too is between Toxic on Waddles and Will-O-Wisp on Rotom, we pretty much have coverage for every mon on his team to get statused, which is good. Everything that can't be poisoned doesn't really appreciate getting burned, because Magnezone doesn't have really reliable recovery. Toxicroak and Metagross both suffer from an attack drop if they get burned. So very, very useful, I think. And then in the last slot, and one of the main reasons that I did think about and consider bringing Rotom in the first place was Defog, with Starla and Reckless both on the team this week, and the issues that Stealth Rock has caused us the past couple of weeks. Having a way to remove the hazards without forcing Reckless to be the one to defog was kind of a good priority. And the other good thing about this is it does allow us to pressure him a little bit more with the Stealth Rock, because his only ways of removing hazards are with Rapid Spinners. I don't think he has any defoggers on his team. And so Rotom can come in and actually spin block as well, which is really nice, and then get some Will-O-Wisps off. And Defog, again, is mostly just there if I need it. Not because I necessarily think I'm going to use it, but it's good to have that there in case of an emergency situation where I need to get rid of rocks or spikes if he does bring the Fortress and sets those up. Really clutch. And of course, Rotom being faster than most things means that we will at least have a chance to defog them away if nothing else. Moving into the last Pokemon, we got Pacifist Run, our Tangrowth, returning again after his victory last week, and running a little bit of a different set this time around, a physically defensive set. Like I said, really focusing on the fact that his team is mostly made up of physical attackers. He does have some, some shenanigans he could do to run special attackers, like maybe Nasty Plot Toxicroak, which would be cool to see actually, or he could even run special like Salamence or something. But I was really, really concerned about the amount of physical attacks that he can dish out. And this is kind of the plan C for Salamence as well, is if worst case scenario, we can send Tangrowth in to take like a physical type attack and get Rocky Helmet damage off, because we are rocking that item. You're supposed to be a regenerator. Let's change that really quick. And then the big thing here is that he can pretty much, like I said, eat up those physical hits. He could switch on thing, and getting chip damage on his team is going to be very, very crucial, because Sylveon can wish, and I guess Celebi can recover. But outside of that, nobody else wants to take chip damage. So if we can get chip damage with Rocky Helmet, if we can get chip damage with Stealth Rocks and stuff, that's all going to be really good. Rocking out with Giga Drain, that's there to let this thing be the best check for Swampert as we can. The good thing here is that even if he's running Ice Punch, Tangrowth can actually just pretty much eat one of those. I think it does maybe like 30%. Get the Rocky Helmet damage, and then a Giga Drain's pretty much going to be guaranteed to KO after that. I think even with like a more specially defensive set, it may not kill, but it'll do a lot regardless. Knock off there for utility. Hit those psychic types of Celebi and Metagross pretty hard. Toxic there. Same reason it's there on Waddles, just to whittle things down and to boost Hex on Rotom. And then in the last slot, we got Hidden Power, and this is actually Hidden Power Fire. Hidden Power Fire, which is there as an alternative way to hit Celebi and Metagross. It also hits Magnezone, And the big thing is that it will allow us to actually check Fortress pretty well, because Fortress tries to like gyro ball or something. Like if he brings it in on Artemis, for example, and wants to try and gyro ball, we can switch into Tangrowth, it'll take Rocky Helmet damage from the physical attack, and then we can fire off Hidden Power Fire. So kind of like that. 252 HP, Relax Nature to boost its defense, 212 there, and then 44 in Spadef, and that's just allow us to, you know, take some special hits as well. So that is the squad. That is the squad for this week. I'm pretty happy about it. It leaves plenty of room for us to change things up when we do have to battle him again. And I'm pretty happy about this set. We'll see how it works out against him, I guess. Because, like I said, we both run some crazy... I mean, I'm running Heat Wave on a Jolly Crobat. I don't know what's going on anymore. But, like I said, I think this is definitely going to be a fun and interesting match. We'll see what happens. We both tend to make some pretty wild plays and stuff. So, I'm excited to see what he's going to bring against us. If he completely shakes us with some special sets on some of these mons, it'll be actually wild. But excited for this battle. Hopefully you guys are as well. So keep your eyes peeled for it. But for now, guys, I'm gonna make like an Abra and get out of here. So have yourselves a wonderful, wonderful day. Stay cool, and we will catch you guys later.